welcome. I'm Lindsay from Mystic Haven Acres, and this is my podcast, Living for Real. Thanks for joining me. I'm here to share my experiences as someone who never quite fit in and shed some light on life's simple and not so simple things. A single mama, born and raised in the GTA, now living a peaceful, rural, homesteading life with my kids and critters, and I can't wait to share with you some of the magic I have learned along the way. I pride myself in real living, real food, real conversations, and real experiences. So leave your preconceived notions at the door and buckle up. This free spirit is about to take you for an interesting ride. Hello, and welcome back to the Living for Real podcast. This is episode 5, and today I want to talk about food, but not just food. So here we go. Something hit me as I was collecting eggs the other day in the chicken coop, and I noticed all the different shapes and colors, and even the texture was different. And it got me thinking how funny it is that we always talk about all the Photoshop in the beauty industry, in the fashion industry, and just in general, right? I mean, every day I see people using filters to look less tired, less old, more presentable, and really, truth be told, more standardized. It feels like everything we see with people, or a lot of what we see, is edited. It's corrected, and even, if you will, perfected, whatever that perception of perfection is to whoever is doing the editing. But we see a lot of that, right? I think we can agree. And even though a lot more attention has been brought to the fact and reality of all the Photoshop and filters, we are still bombarded daily with these ideas of perfect or ideal. But what I really got thinking about in the chicken coop that day was how this ideal, perfect, standardized expectation is not just with people and self-image. It's with everything. Now, before I go any further, I want to preface this by saying, if you've only ever shopped at the grocery store, or maybe even farmers markets, this is probably something that hasn't even crossed your mind. It may not even be in your field of knowing or noticing, because unless you've seen the reality, unless you've seen real raw food at the source, you've got nothing to compare it to. And so you may just think that what you see is the way it is. However, the reality of this is that it really couldn't be further from the truth. The final products in the grocery store or at the farmer's market, be they fresh produce, processed dairy, meat, whatever, they don't reflect the reality. Food isn't really that way at all. And when you start producing your own food, or going straight to the source and seeing real food production, you see that this is the case. And until you do that, you would have no idea. So, as I was standing there, looking at all of these eggs, all these different shapes and sizes, colors, it got me thinking. Because, you go to the grocery store and all the eggs they're so uniform. Be it color, shape, size, whatever. And if they're not quote unquote perfect, they don't make the cut. And they get made into something else. So you never see those other forms. You never see the quote unquote imperfections. And like I said, it goes for everything. It goes for cucumbers, carrots, apples. Heck, it even goes for milk and butter. It literally goes for everything. Absolutely everything. But nothing grows, quote unquote, perfectly all the time. But we don't see that. And that's a real shame because, in my opinion, it distorts our sense of reality, not just about food, but about everything. Like, it's wild. It's really wild when you sit and you think about it. It's so funny. And I will say, I don't know the truth behind this. But years ago, I was in a dairy barn and there were a bunch of old dairy farmers and they were all chatting. And one of the men had worked in a milk plant, where the milk gets processed. And he told us, and again, I don't know if there was actually any truth to what he said, but he told us that they actually used to dump bleach in the milk to make it more white. And again, I don't know if he was just pulling our legs. He very well may have. But it really makes you think. Again, having produced milk on my farm and seeing milk produced by different cows on different feed at other farms, I know that milk doesn't always look the same. And it's not a white color. Heck, some cow breeds produce milk that is actually quite yellow. And so it really does make you wonder. Of course, they say they don't do anything to our food. But at this day and age, even though I'm quite certain that this would not be happening now, I'm not so sure that something of that same nature isn't happening now. Because the fact of the matter is, we have grown or been conditioned to expect consistency, right? We've been conditioned to expect things to look the same and look familiar every time we purchase them. And so the suppliers or the producers, whatever you want to call them, they alter the food to make it look how we expect it to look. So it sells better, so it looks more appealing. Because we have these ideas in our head that, things are supposed to look a certain way, and we want them to look that way. But I think what we fail to recognize is that this is essentially happening with everything in our life. And so we learn to expect the same of people too, right? I mean, it only makes sense. There is this ideal man or woman based on someone or some group's opinion of ideal. And then all these photoshops and filters that are applied lean towards that ideal of beauty or perfection or whatever that is, whatever that ideal is. The other thing that really hit me was when I bought some mandarin oranges. I don't know, this season, last season, I can't remember when it was now. Doesn't matter. And I don't know what possessed me to read the box, because it's a box of mandarins. Like, why would I read the box, right? Like, I don't need to look at the ingredients, they're mandarins. But I did. I read the box, and I was really shocked Because like I say, you wouldn't expect there to be ingredients on a box of mandarins. And to my surprise, there was. But what was even worse was the fact that I couldn't read or understand what most of these ingredients were. I don't know if they were pesticides. I don't know if they were color something chemicals, or both, or neither. Maybe they were something else. I have no idea. But these mandarin oranges that I was feeding to myself and my children had been, I assume, I don't know, sprayed with something at some point or multiple points. And I was like, ew. I don't know what that is, and I don't want to eat it. To be honest, I'd rather have non-uniform, pale mandarins than be eating random chemicals. So now I'm curious. Did you know that we were only given produce that visually meets acceptable standards? Did you know that non-standardized or non-conforming food doesn't make it to our grocery stores in its natural raw state? And if you did know, had you ever thought about how only ever seeing uniform, ideal food warps our perception in so many other facets of life? I must say, I always have some good laughs pulling up my carrots from my garden because they can get pretty wild. That said, the entangled, twisted carrots don't taste any different than the straight ones. They are all edible and they are all useful. They all grow and produce as they should. But in our commercial food production and supply, those twisted carrots would be deemed unworthy of raw sales. To the soup kitchen with the twisted ones. And it's interesting how with people, they shove inclusivity down our throats, right? I mean, why shouldn't we see people for who they are and not how they appear? We should be inclusive in that regard. But to me, it's really no wonder that some people struggle with accepting different. And not only that, but also how many have trouble accepting themselves when they don't fit the molds that they think they should, because we are constantly bombarded with the idea that things should look uniform. They should look the same. And they should all meet the same standards. And how contradictory is that? So again, it's no wonder when people don't fit in to these societal expectations that they feel lost or confused or out of place. You know, we're told that uniqueness and individuality are beautiful and wonderful, and yet we are shown something totally opposite of that. Like every day in so many different areas of our lives, be it products that we use or food that we eat. It's everywhere. It's like, oh, that tomato looks funny. Ketchup it is. So on that note, I'm going to stop for today. But I hope this episode has sparked some thought. And I would really love to hear your thoughts, whether that's by email or by message on Instagram or in the comments if you have the ability to comment on your listening app of choice. And again, don't forget to slow down and notice. because it's amazing what you can see when you take the time to look closer. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review and share with your friends and family. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss upcoming episodes. And thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.